Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. Today I'm joined by two of the most innovative minds in modern music, Maynard James Keenan and Matt Mitchell, who along with Karina Round formed the band Puscifer. While Maynard's often recognized for his work in Tool and A Perfect Circle, Puscifer has always been his most versatile and experimental outlet, a project that blends electronic textures, industrial rhythms, and dark commentary. A few months ago, I received an advanced copy of their recently released fifth album entitled Normal Isn't, and thought it was incredibly cool. So I reached out to Maynard and Matt to see if they'd be interested in talking with me about the finer details of the record's songwriting and recording process. Before we move on, remember to hit subscribe. Here's my interview.
Maynard, Matt, welcome.
Hola.
So the new Puscifer record, I got an advance copy of it, and I started listening to it probably about, 4 months ago or so. I found that it's difficult to find words to describe the style of music, but I want to start by playing a song or part of a song and talk about how you go about creating this and what your process is, if that's cool.
Cool.
The song is a Public Stoning. Okay, first of all, the record is phenomenal sounding, and you did the mixing of it. Yeah. I mean, it's really mixed so well, and just tracking and everything sounds incredible. Tell me a little bit about this particular song, about how you come about writing a song like this.
So Matt? I don't remember where the seed came from on this one, but I do remember working on the bass part, and I liked 2-note and 3-note kind of playing with like triads and just like how those kind of work together. And then I changed that 1 note, and I like the rub, just you start to get that wiggle in there. And for me, that was kind of like okay, this is something cool, at least from that initial thing. And then from then, it was before we start working with a drummer, it's just what you have in front of you. So it's playing with samples and pulling things from different things. And I knew early on that I wanted it to be a double drummer part, so that when that kicks in, it's kind of got that inconsistency you get with 2 kits, and just that kind of push. The third element I think that kind of takes it is those pauses, like figuring out it's not just a bar, or like it's, I would sit there and just play it and then put a marker down where I thought the next thing would hit, and just kind of
And in some cases, put it somewhere else because that's where you expect it.
Right.
Well, we both like soundtracks and things like that, and a lot of that stuff to me feels like it's more emotionally hitting and less about, you know, playing with the grid. So it's finding when to be on the grid and when to kind of break off of it, and those pauses are definitely off the grid, like just where it feels like that awkward amount of thing, and then boom, it hits.
I enjoy when we're kind of syncing up with just vibe. And so a song like that, to me, the vibe feels like some of my favorite films, feels like some of my, you know, the way conversations go, right? People don't just come in and start jumping into a conversation. There tends to be this, hey, how you been? You know, park your car thing. Or a film starts in, you know, like a good example would be The Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
It's not like we're trying to make you pay to sit here.
Yeah.
We're literally trying to set up a scenario for you that when we have the payoff, it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think that's missing in a lot of, you know, newer songs I'm hearing come out.
Because people don't want to have the listener wait.
They want the sound.
They want the payoff immediately.
They want yeah. So that's why I really appreciate the way he's writing like that, because it's very much like The Deer Hunter.
What do you guys think about dissonance? Because you guys use a lot of dissonant, discordant, however you want to say it, chords. The bass line right at the beginning has that dissonance. Do you look for things like that?
It's just everything that I do is kind of coming from an emotional thing and trying to, you know, Maynard is a storyteller and really good at it, you know, lyrically and melodically, and then I try to do a similar thing musically, where it feels like there's kind of, like he was saying, there's a beginning and then there's arcs and things like that. I think dissonance kind of just, it from an emotional point, it just makes you feel a little uncomfortable. And the same thing with going major, you know, it makes you, it's an uplifting thing. So kind of playing those juxtapositions, to me, are just as important as dynamics. So making, you know, and this one's a really good example of the dynamics too, where you've got something that's really small, that way when it hits, it feels twice as big because you've got scale next to it, you know.
Did the versions of the songs come about in a layering fashion? Did you have okay, so I've got the intro, then it comes in, and you have a lot of single guitars and maybe a synth line, but it's a single line though, very orchestrated sounding. How do you decide, Maynard, for example, how do you decide where the vocals actually come in?
You know, that's always a huge puzzle, because you have to tell the story, but have to also be able to tell the story every night. Right?
Yeah.
So a song like this, I remember, if I remember correctly, I was like, okay, I have an idea for a melody, but we're going to do it. We had to do two of them. Like, do this one, and then you're going to have to go over that compressor and reset this compressor because I'm going to get loud. He's like, oh yeah. So, you know, then that's the puzzle. Is can I do this? I have it in my head. Can I make it work with the thing I just heard? Driving around in your truck trying to figure out how to add the layer, and then of course then he hears it and goes, okay, I know what to do next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of back and forth, and unless I come up with a guitar part or something that I think is super important early on, I try to keep that stuff out of the way to not paint him in a corner so that he's got a kind of a clean slate. So I think this one was a beat and that bass line, you know, it was very kind of, you know, foundation.
We talked for a minute before we started about the recording process. Maynard actually played me a couple things when the last time we got together in Phoenix.
That would have been early. That was
early stages. Yeah. Just some demos and things that he was kind of showing me what he writes over, like things that you'll send him and
yeah.
And
I was kind of giving him like, check out this box of marbles.
Yeah.
Right. And just because I wanted to excite him about like where it was going to go.
Yeah, and I'm obviously fascinated by the process, in addition to the kind of emotional and the lyrical elements of the music, but how this stuff comes together. You work in Pro Tools, but you said you had told me that you started in Logic. Now, this whole record, would it start out with demos, with pieces that get put together, and then you guys are like, hey, what do you think about using this with that? Or would Maynard have, like in this tune, you said you have an idea for a melody. Will you work out the melodic sections and then maybe I have a good idea for an intro and then put it together that way?
He had the intro before I started doing anything, yeah.
Yeah, and so Maynard works in Logic.
Interesting.
And we've kind of come up with a process now where you know, if he's in hotel rooms or whatever, he's got his microphone, he's got his whole rig with him, and he can work on melodies or harmonies or whatever, or loops, or, you know,
depending on the hotel room, which is weird.
Yeah, singing the chorus to this in the hotel room.
Yeah, it's literally like the hotel room has to be the right kind of hotel room, because if there's a shared door between another room over here and there's not enough curtains in here, then that's a bust.
Yeah.
Right?
But what's interesting about having that stuff is sometimes those performances, that being uncomfortable, the way that you have to be quiet because you're in a,
it actually creates the vibe.
Yeah, so
for the vocal.
Exactly. So trying to reproduce that, it just never is the same. So there's 7-1
is like, I think I was in a hotel room.
Yeah.
For that actual vocal of me saying 7-1.
And 7-1.
I'm trying not to disturb the neighbors. I'm like completely leaned into
it sounds like that.
I would howl over my little vocal booth thing, leaning into the desk.
So not being precious to the process either. So if that works better than a well-recorded thing on this mic through this chain or whatever, then if that fits the song better, then.
Now, are you ever tracking together, or is Maynard typically recording?
Oh no, most of the finished vocals, I go to him. We find our time and we go do that, because I feel like, you know, Karina too, like we have, real mics and we're in the same space.
Well, and then you can just change gears and not have to focus on this. You can just get in the right headspace.
And the drumming, drum tracking on this, you said you went to Kansas City to do them?
Yeah, so it's 3. So Danny did his stuff here probably at the Loft. Sarah was at Rockfield. And then Gunner's stuff we did in Kansas City at B24. Because he was working in New York, and he's like, I got a 6-day window, and I was like, all right, it's 2.5 hours flight for each of us. And the studio in Kansas City, they had 20, 30, 40 drum kits, like all the stuff that you want.
Wow.
We had a mono vibe kit at one end, and then kind of a modern mic'd modern thing at the other, and then we could kind of go back and forth and change things out as we saw fit, you know. Whereas even if we did it here, we might have 2 or 3 kits as an option, and just having 20 different drum kits and the space to kind of set everything up at once was super cool.
Now, are you doing the engineering on the drum?
Yeah.
How do you decide what kind of drum kit you're going to use and what the sound is going to be? There's some amazing drum sounds on this that I want to ask you about.
Yeah, so a lot of the decisions were made as we're writing and as we're starting to fill things in, and I'm doing things in the box and pulling samples and stuff like that. I start to develop a pretty good idea of is it a pingy thing? Is it a pushy, kind of tubby thing? Like, where does that need to sit? Then when we go to track it, we've got 2 or 3 options, and then it's like, I've got a pretty good idea before we sit down with the drummer where things need to be. And then of course there's the happy accidents that you always hope for, I
want to play another song here. This is opening track, Thrust.
This is one that I played for him.
Yeah.
In the car.
Okay, so these sounds are amazing. It sounds like a spring reverb on there. There's all the space in there. There's 2 or 3 parts, but they kind of occupy their own thing and create this it's like a soundtrack vibe right there in the intro. Let me continue on though and Maynard had played me this. This is one of the things. Let me continue on here.
Caught up in the middle of breaking down the riddle. How to keep it civil, Cheney on level. Stuck her in the middle of all the petty people. Bigger brother can let the drivel rattle me.
Okay, the drums there sound phenomenal. They sound like they have like a little bit of clipping on them or something. I mean, they really sound good. This is like, to me, drum sounds that I love. What are you doing on this?
I tend to not track cymbals with the drums.
Okay.
Because I like the option to use a lot of room. And I find that if there's a cymbal, then it's kind of dictating how much room I can use.
And what take it can use. You can't edit shit together if there's cymbals spilling over.
Yeah. So it's a combination of that. So it's a pair of coals behind, over the shoulder, kind of pointing in.
How far back would the coals be?
6 to 8 feet.
Okay.
Kind of over the shoulder, kind of pointed at a spot between the snare and the kick drum, just kind of as a focal point.
So a spaced pair of coals, 40-38s.
Yeah. Kind of pointed, you know, where you would put a crotch mic.
Okay.
And then opposite of that, an R88 in front, same distance, doing the same thing. So you've kind of got a nice wide stereo thing to play with, and then you can also pick, do you want it a little darker? Do you want it a little more modern? And then also the heads, the drum heads, we used single ply clear heads, which I think is contributing to some of that snap.
Ambassadors or something like that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's some type of clipping or something. Is that just compression on the drums?
I mean, without looking at a session, I do a lot of, I get a lot of harmonic content from overdriving things. So there's a chance, a pretty good chance that there's something on there.
Mixing electronic drums, loop drums, along with real drums. When the electronic drums come in the intro, they're very upfront, big thumpy kick and everything. And then the real drums come in, it's a tighter sound and everything. Do you try and find the frequency if you have two different sounding bass drums, kind of what they occupy?
Yeah, for sure. The electronics are usually the stuff that's nice and, you know, because they can be super tight and super low. So I let them do that. Yeah, and then it's just vibe of, you know, where do you want to kind of tuck that thing under, or do you want to, is it the feature? What, you know, which one has the most detail, and, you know, that's not going to take away, you know, at the moment.
Maynard, for your vocals on this, what when you go in to sing, do you have a specific kind of style for each section of the song that you want to do, and we'll divide it up? Like if you're going to do a hard singing and soft singing, do you guys reset it up for each section?
Well, you know, for like the previous song, I definitely have to reset the...
Yeah, because the compression, because you're singing so hard.
But a song like this one is 100% a million takes, because I'm trying to find the vibe on a single word. And is the word soft approach and finishing hard? Is it starting hard and finishing soft? Am I going to be lazy on the last syllable but aggressive on the first syllable, or, you know, precise on the first syllable, and then it falls apart at the end of the word? This literally is that song of, like, he would go, Maynard's coming back in to retract the goddamn thrust vocals again, because I wasn't satisfied with the nuance of, you know, the literally down to, like, you know, syllables.
And your decision to go in and retrack, will you punch or will you actually retrack
The whole
it?
thing. Just do the whole thing, because different day, different throat.
Yes.
Different set of planes flying over our fucking studio.
Yeah.
You know, everything. So we just redo it, and then come back to me and say, the one you did last week was better. You know, we don't pull any punches on that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of times where it'll be pieces from, not within a verse necessarily, but the verse on this is slightly different. Like where your throat was at is slightly better on the second verse.
Because like that morning throat is going to sound a certain way.
Yeah.
And then completely warmed up throat's going to have a different vibe. So trying to do a song like Pendulum or 7-1 on the fresh, warmed up, crisp throat is stupid.
Are there instances where Matt wants you to do something over, or is it always you want to do something over and you tell him?
We generally agree. He'll say, that's not, you can do better.
Yeah.
I think, you know.
It's been my experience that I just stay out of the way, and that's kind of true with all three of us, that we just kind of, we let each other find our way, because we know that and trust that each other's going to be the best at editing what we want to do. And instead of, I feel like if I start making suggestions, then it's going to pull him out of the process that he's doing, and I'd rather just let him figure it.
I think a lot of times, like once we've done it a bunch of times, and he has an idea what I'm going for, he has the suggestion, I know what you're going for, let's try it this way.
How do you find the landscape as far as the sonic, like the type of reverbs and things like that? Do you have an idea for each song, or do you think of it as the whole album has a certain kind of sonic signature to it?
Those decisions usually don't come into play. Well, I try to suit whatever fits the song in the writing process. And then as we start getting into mix, then it's how do we make this feel like a collective thing and make it feel like all these songs belong together. So then those decisions are kind of nudged this way or that way so that it starts to feel cohesive.
Like the guitar that in this song that comes into more distorted guitar here. Let me just play it. For example, sounds like that. That's a fast tremolo. You're adjusting the tremolo.
It's ring modulator.
Ring modulator, but you're adjusting it, right?
It's the envelope on the Moog ring modulator pedal. So as I dig into it, it starts going faster.
Goes faster.
Giggle, giggle, titter, fucking agitators, rabble, go and rabble, trying not to murder's a daily fucking battle. 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 Trying not to murder's a daily fucking battle.
This is really such a headphone record, man. There's so many interesting layers to it. The guitar thing there, the more distorted thing, what are you playing through? What is that?
The guitar is, it's a Robin Machete, and then it's through a Hi-Watt DR103, mic'd with an 87, about 18 inches off, probably.
That totally makes sense. I can hear a lot of distant miking when I'm listening to it. What do you like about that?
I mean, I'll do close miking on certain things. I just like, it feels like it breathes a little more. It feels a little more like it's in a space. Because with the electronic drums being direct and with the synths being direct, I don't do a lot of reamping on synths. So that stuff is really kind of, the only distance I'm going to get is by turning it down or putting effects on it. So the guitar is a good one to kind of feel like it's in a room and get some space to it.
Maynard, do you find that the way that your voice is presented in a song like this, for example, like, why don't we use this kind of reverb or something? Or, I mean, you've made a lot of records in the past and you obviously know about these things. Do you talk about things with Matt, like, what if my voice is EQ'd this way? Or why don't you use reverb instead of delay or something? Do you guys talk about things like that?
Well, initially, when tracking, I don't usually use any kind of sauce to inspire whatever I'm singing. I like it to be
sing dry,
dry, just so I can get the timing right, the syllables right, everything about the energy correct, and then I have to go through the awkward phase of him having put some sauce on it and me going, wait, what's that? And then I have to sit with it for a while to see if I agree with his decision on a thing. And there are some where I just don't feel like I'm not feeling my vocal, so I'll go inevitably put it through a telephone.
Well, Mantastic was a good example of that, where you're like, the performance is there, but the way that it's in, it just wasn't right. And then when we were, so we did a lot of the final tracking when we were on tour last year, and we rolled into the studio in Philly, and they had an old 949 or an early Eventide, and I was like, let's see what that does.
Those are cool.
And we
let me play Mantastic here.
Got a few tracks of that, and that kind of.
Because it literally had to be in the perfect space to not sound like it was just stuck on, you know?
Just as soon as I am done with all of my manscaping,
I love that style of singing you do like that, Maynard, that really pushed. It sounds wide and not pointed. A lot of times when you push like that, it's like it can be like that.
And that's why the EQ, whatever effect, it had to be the right one. And I was literally struggling with that song the whole time we were doing it until he pulled out the old Al Jorgensen for me. And is that the thing he used on?
It was an earlier one, but it's same manufacturer, but kind of an earlier version.
Because that cuts it all in the right spots, and there's not like because sometimes you put an effect on, and now this part of the vocal sticks way out. You fix that part, but then when you go to here, then but that was like, oh, that brought everything right into the right space to sell the song.
There's also the ambience that's on the voice there is really, to me, matches perfectly with the track. I mean, it literally sounds like it's all in the same room. Same thing with the drums. Are we recording the shells on this?
Yeah, this would have been probably the big hit. I'm guessing. That snare, though, there are a few drums that I bring with me.
That snare sounds great on this.
There's a few drums that I bring with me. No matter.
Give me an example of some.
70s acrylite.
Okay.
With a clear ambassador head.
Okay.
And then a
clear on the batter
head.
Interesting.
And then you throw a wallet on it if you want it dead, but otherwise you can get that. And then the second one is a Leedy Reliant, like 20s era 8-lug.
8-lug, yeah.
Which is probably what that was.
When you're tracking the drums, you put up some like cardboard cymbals or something like that?
No, they'll use hats, and then we just don't have crashes because it's someone else's problem. I have done that before, but then they're hitting this stuff. You can hear it thump. And,
I can hear it thumping the thing.
And they're not necessarily hitting it in the same places they're actually going to do when they hit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd rather just not even think about it. And I mean, if it was up to us, we probably wouldn't have cymbals on the record.
The song, to me, describing it is like the whole song, the feel, the vibe, the effects on it. It feels like when somebody was in a hot, kind of moist room and then they walk outside in the cold and their body starts to kind of like have that steam come off them. This whole song feels like that look. It's like the cymbals just kind of like, there's a little steam and the vocal has a little bit of steam coming off it. That's when I hear the song, that's what I visualize.
When you're mixing this stuff, tell me about your process for doing that and how much is Maynard involved in it? Or do you usually will do it? We'll work on it you don't do anything, Maynard? I mean, you come and listen to it after,
he'll
right?
He'll send me roughs and I'll complain about my vocal.
And you'll
turn the vocal down.
Turn the vocal down. Is it?
It's the opposite of
the opposite
what you're used to.
Yeah.
What's your process for mixing?
Get the drums right, drums and bass really, and then figuring out vocally, because there's, having two singers, not having them on top of each other, finding out when is he wide, when is Karina wide, when are they up the middle, when is it a blend where you can't tell that it's two voices. To me, that's kind of, once the drums, the bass, and then the vocal positions are there, then everything else kind of slots into place, and then it's just, make it sound good.
If Karina's doing I mean, their frequencies are not really overlapping since they're singing in different ranges, but when you're talking about splitting things, do you hard pan them? What's your philosophy in that?
Specifically with vocals, Karina does a lot. When she hands me a vocal, it's not just the vocal. She's got her own Eventide that she likes to mess around with. She's got an old Akai S612 sampler, so a lot of those garbly things, those kind of textures, she'll take his vocal or her own and kind of make these little things. So some of that stuff, sometimes with that, she's given me enough that I can just make her wide off of.
So she'll have it baked in, actually.
The 8 different Eventide tracks that she's given
That's
me.
amazing.
Yeah, so she does a lot of that.
She'll definitely throw the whole kitchen sink and go, I know you're going to mute some of this, but like, here's more than you need.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then with the stacks, you guys usually have that's one thing where I get a lot of feedback from both of you guys on mixing is how their vocals are sitting together and how those blends work. They kind of decide that. Aside from that, it's finding the space of like, this little keyboard thing that maybe is hard panned off to this side, just to kind of pull you away, get you out of the center for a second. You know? And again, that's just, with the story and just the kind of make you look around the room a little bit.
when you have double tracked vocals, for example, I mean, when Maynard's doing some of the hard singing, he's a lot of times it's double tracked, right? Is it ever triple tracked, or
Sometimes.
do you put the doubles equal? Do you put one down 3 dB?
Yeah, one's usually down, and then I'll usually roll off some of the detail just so that it's not getting in its way.
So it doesn't, the articulations or
Exactly.
Yeah, the S's and T's and pops and P's, like just mute that part and let the other one take over.
And I do, on the vocals specifically, I do a lot of work making sure that the P's, T's, and that we're not hearing 8 T's at the same time. You know what I mean? So some of those tracks, if you solo them, you'll hear a lot of that stuff that's either ducked or EQ'd out or...
Okay, I hate to be so technical, but I don't hate to be so technical. I'm very technical. Will you go in, use clip gain, and duck things down?
Yeah.
That's easier than doing doing actual automation, isn't it, nowadays?
Yeah, nowadays that's typically probably 75-80% of at least the first pass is just using my ear and just kind of trying to clip gain and get everything in the ballpark.
And do you like to clip gain the vocals so that you don't have to do any rides? Can you pretty much get most of the rides of the vocal done with clip gain?
I clip gain to get rid of to get it at a unity.
Yeah.
Then I do automation when it's, bring it up
really
for this
need
chunk
to
and
do it.
bring it, yeah.
Do you do rides with all the instruments? Do you ride the snare up on fills, or do you use clip gain and do things like that? I ask you this just because clip gain is a thing in Pro Tools that I notice that more people use it now, so they don't have to do rides, that they'll actually just ride those things up using that.
Yeah, things like drums, I've done both. And I couldn't tell you why I would do one over the other, but I definitely do both. And I do rides of coming out of a section, you want this to lift or you want this to kind of tuck down. I definitely am doing a fair amount of automation, and that's usually at the 11th hour. It's once it's kind of done, and then it's just, trying to make it pop out. And that's one thing I would say about the ATCs is if it doesn't sound exciting, then it's not exciting. Like I find that when I switched to those speakers, that I started being a little more radical with my mixing.
Would you say that these ATCs are kind of the new NS10s?
I think they're completely different. And I've been able to, I've gotten great mixes out of NS10s, but I feel that like with an NS10, I really have to critical listen a lot deeper.
Yeah, in the low end and things like that too, right?
Just anything, the details of everything. I feel like I have to focus a lot harder. And these, I feel like I don't have to like close my eyes and really think about it to get the same kind of result. A lot of those things are a lot more obvious, especially with like phase. Yeah, and then like I said, when it comes to making an exciting mix, I can tell a lot better with these speakers. And I also mix at 75 dB.
Okay.
I like to mix pretty quiet.
Yeah, so just for people to know, 75 dB is a very reasonable level, not loud at all.
Yeah, that was surprising to me watching Alan Mulder mix on that little mono speaker on the board, just going, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm mixing. Fuck off. Go get a drink.
But those at that level, you can really hear balance and things like that. Is the snare too loud? Is the vocal too loud? On a technical thing, what's your feelings on mixes that are super compressed?
I don't like them. I know that I've done them and I regret them. Now we're talking about vinyl and we're talking about CDs and good stereo systems and everything. Everybody nowadays is, listening to it on their phone or some earbuds that are even more stripped down. So you're not really hearing all the nuances in those settings. But I do believe there's, going too far with old school 70s dynamics where you got to find a balance.
Yeah.
Right? You just got to find the balance. And because if you overcompress your album, as soon as it goes to Spotify or Apple Music or the radio, they're going to compress it even more.
Yeah.
And then it just looks like the Black Flag logo. It's just black bars.
Right. When you're compressing, what do you use on your mix bus to compress? Do you use outboard gear? Do you use plugins?
I use plugins. I used to use outboard stuff. I use plugins. I use what do I use on the stereo? I do a lot on
You run stems and things, or you
on groups.
buses?
So yeah. I do a lot of dynamics on the groups. On the drums, my new favorite or recent favorite is the UAD Capital compressor thing.
Yeah.
Because it's got so many options. Like, it's got an overdrive element in it. It's got the mono summing in it for the low end. It's got a lot that it does, so I use that a lot on drums. I use the U80 Fairchilds on things where I just want it to kind of, just keep it in the lane.
Yeah.
Vocals, it's every compressor in the room, basically. I do use hardware on the vocals. I use the old ADR vocal stressors. I use those a lot for vocals, just because the EQ is super aggressive, and you can really get it to bite. And then again, the compressor is just as aggressive.
Excellent.
And really makes it so the vocal can sit right there and not move if you want it to.
You ever ride up the master fader on the choruses and things like that?
Yeah.
What would be a lot? Do you go up a dB?
Three would be crazy, but
okay. Do you do that sometimes?
I have done that on occasion, but usually it's usually a dB or dB and a half kind of.
Do you try to rely on the actual dynamics in the music to do that, and write up the individual elements to kind of bring that level up?
Yeah. Like I kind of, to go back to the speakers, it's to make it more exciting. So if it's doing this thing, and if I can just do this little thing to kind of give it a little lift, then just help it along a little bit, exaggerate a little more, and that kind of goes to what you were saying about the dynamics. We spend so much time trying to make these things dynamic. And I don't want to be the guy that when your song comes on, everyone has to turn up the radio because it sounds wimpy and thin. But at the same time, I don't want to give up all that stuff that we work to kind of build into the song. So it's trying to find that balance.
I want to talk about Bad Wolf. Can I let me play a little bit of this here? Okay, wait. What is that sound? What is that?
ARP 2600.
Okay. There's so many interesting sounds in here. I love that. The vocal blend on this, in this section, to me is really. It has a lot of ambience, and then it kind of just cuts off there. I think it's really cool. That just, to me, has such a unique sound. There's so many things that I'm like, whoa, this is cool.
Thanks. We were again in Philly. They had a really nice live room, nice wood live room, and for Karina's vocal on that section, they had a Royer, and I put it at the other end of the room and had her do a layer of that in that big room, and that's the reverb.
Okay, this is cool, what? Yeah. So these are real sounds that. That's why it doesn't sound like they're effects. That you're actually using the room.
The work up front of like being able to be ready to do the vocal, but then also have him understand how to capture the thing you're going for with reality and actual waveforms rather than like trying to manipulate it in the computer to get it there. Like this is another example of that thing I was stressing about singing this vocal, because you can't just sing the words. It has to like slightly roll into the syllable, and then feel natural because you're singing a syllable with space and a syllable with space. So it had to fall in rhythmically properly, executed from the beginning and the end of the syllable to fit in the space. And then have him hear that and go, oh, this is what I need to do with how what spaces it's going to be recorded in.
Yeah. It felt really important that this one, because there were so many big spaces, to make sure that those were natural spaces to make it feel like you're in a room. So the same thing with the drums. That was, the mics probably those fills were probably just the room mics.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There's a thing here at that I marked at 255. Let me see what I was thinking. Okay, the bass drum sounds so good. Like, I hear the flexing of the head, it sounds like. What's up with that?
I'd have to check my notes, but I think it's either a Gretsch or a WFL, no front head, which is probably helping with that. Yeah, all the stuff I do on it, it's a 20.
Okay.
So all the stuff that I do on a 20, do it with no front head, and then
like 20 by 14, something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and then 47 and.
Is that a clear head on the batter head?
Yeah.
You can tell. I hear these things. I'm like, it's a clear head, but I hear I can hear the beater pushing the head, like the flexing of it and stuff. And what are you using to mic it with? Do you know?
It would have been a 47 FET. And I believe an RE20.
RE20 close and a 47 FET?
No, they're the same distance, and both 12, 14 inches outside of the shell.
And do you have any type of baffling around it or anything? Just open?
Just open.
And then, of course, the drums are recorded without the cymbals, except for the hi-hat.
Yeah.
Which is crazy at rehearsals. You go to rehearse and it's like, this sounds different than the record.
Okay, so speaking of that, when you go and start rehearsing these songs to play live, when you're tracking them, if you're tracking them without cymbals and everything, with the drums or whatever, or some of these songs maybe you've never played live before. Is that the case when you first rehearse them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so do they sound weird when you're doing it?
Yeah, because now you're in the room. Gunnar for the first time is playing next to, the bass being played, the guitar being played. So, you're not doing it in sections. So it is an absolute get to know you process. But now that we've worked with these people for as long as we have, we understand that the first couple of days is just let it go. Just get through it, do the reps, get the reps in, and then it will fall in place.
How long will it take to rehearse up these songs for a tour?
Well, we start next week.
We start we
we
load in today. So we usually do 5 or 6 days just with, me and Gunnar and Josh, just to kind of, yes, we know what we're doing, and we're, you know what I mean? Just and any sort of programming that we need to do, and just kind of getting all the kind of lab work done. And then we start playing the songs really. And then we'll do that for 4 to 5 days just to really kind of lock it in.
Tell me about some of the synths that you're using on here. You have some vintage synths. You have any Fairlights? You have any Synclaviers or anything like that?
Yeah, I had both.
Of course.
So I'll just kind of go around the room. So ARP 2600, which is definitely desert island synth, like
amazing
drum sounds, bass sounds, those little blips and bloops.
Yep.
Moog Voyager.
Okay.
Then on the Oberheim SEM for really kind of pokey stuff. Korg MS-20 for when you want it to be a guitar but not a guitar.
Right.
Then on the other side of the room is the Polys, so Prophet 10, which is the new one. The Moog 1, which is a monster. Synclavier 2.
Okay.
Which is FM.
Use that for like bell sounds and things like that, or?
Yeah, on
any type of FM synth sounds.
Yeah, mostly FM stuff. I don't know that I used it if I did any sampling with it on this record. Mostly FM stuff, and then the Fairlight. It's a Fairlight 2 CX.
Yeah.
And that's drum sounds, bass sounds, lead lines, intros on a few songs.
How long have you had these things?
I've kind of got into the keyboard thing, kind of when I started. Like, I started as a guitar player, and then a friend of mine brought over a Roland SH-101, which was super cool, and he brought over a Mirage sampler.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I can make sounds and have drum sounds and make little songs. So I've been using samplers and some kind of synthesis kind of since the beginning of, of my musical stuff. But the Fairlight specifically, I think we were on the Money Shot tour, and I'm listening, got my ears in and I'm just listening to music, and I'm starting to connect all the dots. I'm like, I like this record, and I like this record, and I like this record, and I'm like, those are all fucking Fairlights,
right.
like Our Noise and Ministry, and like all these, all the Trevor Horn stuff, and I'm like,
Kraftwerk.
Kraftwerk. Well, the like the mix and things like that was Synclavier, but I don't know that they ever did Fairlight stuff. But
just for people that are watching this, explain how much these things were back when they came out. Fairlights and Synclaviers.
Yeah, so
untouchable.
Well, the Fairlight 2, I know they made less than 300 of them.
Yeah.
They were, I think the 2 was like 60 grand or 80 grand, something like that. The 3s were over 100. The Syncs, you could spend $200,000-$300,000 on Synclavier.
Yeah.
But they were doing 100 kilohertz sample rate in like early 80s.
It's amazing.
And they're discrete. So get on a super nerd tangent. Like a modern synth or plug, like whatever, it's all the processing's happening on a single chip, right?
Yes.
And then all the audio is happening on that chip, and you mix it on the chip, and you know what I mean? And the Synclavier, like the digital side of things, they're all discrete. So you've got, if you're playing a 4-voice thing, it's 4 separate DACs.
Yes.
And then the mixer section is analog, and it's digital controlled. So you're hitting an analog mixer because they didn't want to deal with the bit rate, or the bit reduction that you got. Crazy. So that's why they were so expensive. So it was a full-on, digital or digitally controlled mixing console and discrete DACs for each voice and VCAs for each voice.
Using the real thing as opposed to a sample of the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a vibe thing, or is it that they sound different to you?
It's like using a guitar plug-in versus a guitar. It's that different.
Yeah, it's super different.
What would you say the style of this record is? Can you call it a style? Is it more like film music? Like what do you like to even describe things like that? Because I can't find words to describe it. I just find it's
I suppose we should, but like we're so in the middle of it that this is just what we do.
Yeah.
And I think Karina kind of put it best as an outside observer coming in, early days, but still we'd already done some things.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know what the fuck this is I'm listening to.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird, unique approach to things. We're not trying to be weird. It's just, this is the way that we process the information, and this is how it comes out. But I think there's a lot of guys who go to, to universities of music business that pretend to be musicians, right? And they're just, this is the intro, it gets right into the chorus, then there's the verse, chorus, double chorus. There's formulas that you're using to get there. That's why the algorithms are spitting out, the AI is spitting out all this garbage music, because it's just the formula of the thing you want to hear in the grocery store. That's pretty much it. We just don't think that way. Like I said, I'm a fan of David Lynch films, and Gummo and The Deer Hunter, and those are the kind of cinematic universes I live in, and he has a similar taste as well. So, and even music.
I mean, I do this all the time.
I danced around not answering your question.
I talk about music all the time on my YouTube channel. I have a very difficult time describing what this record is. Maybe because there's so much linear writing involved in that. A lot of the guitar parts, the synth parts and things like that are linear. They're lines. Mm-hmm. They're not. It's not chords necessarily. To me it's very counterpoint, because there's things happen. There's lines going on here, then another line comes in under it, and they overlap, but they have their own distinct melodies and things like that. And as you're describing this, it's an open-headed kick drum, and the mics are 14 inches outside the thing, or it's a vocal being done across the room with a Royer mic, or it's the 2 Coles mics behind the drums picking it up with an M88 in front, and things like that. Now, to me, this starts to make sense what I'm hearing, because I'm not hearing just standard stuff that everybody does. I'm hearing something that's really original sounding, and that goes right down to it's not just the melodies and the lyrics and everything, it's the care that's taken through the entire recording process with capturing the stuff with the vibe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Being true to the reaction of this thing, this Fairlight that he has in front of him. And, he has a bass line, and it's on a very specific bass with a very specific path, by the time the sound hits your ear. And it's like, okay, well, that's a thing. Let's honor this moment and this thing that I'm hearing.
Historically, we've kind of shied away from multing, doing a lot of multing, as far as like guitar layers and things like that. I think it's cooler to find the sound that fills the space of 3 guitars instead of doing 3 guitars. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a more exciting journey, and I think it's a more unique result.
When you guys get to near the end of making the record, as far as the mixing and stuff like that, will you take a group of songs and say, okay, let's go through and get the notes of these songs, kind of put them to bed, then you have those, and then you do the next group, and then you kind of do an overall thing for what the running order is? How do you finish the process of making the record?
I had a couple suggestions on what song to start the album with, and then what song to end. Other than that, I handed it off to him as far as sequencing.
Yeah.
Though there's definitely an art to sequencing, and I'm always about, again, like opening the record with a song like Thrust rather than opening it with Self-Evident or Bad Wolf or something. I'd rather you go, okay, I have to sign on for this journey. This is not going to be spoon-fed to me. So that's kind of how I like to bookend, the albums. But as far as going through notes, I think I had my own word, pages sheet that would have all the things listed out and go, this little thing here, this little thing here, this little thing here, and he's either addressing or not addressing.
Will you address it, or will you not address it and tell Maynard that you did?
Well,
and he'll be like, yeah, it sounds good. I turned that down too dB, but you didn't do anything.
But if he doesn't address the thing, it's because there's a reason for it, and he tells me to get back in my lane without telling me to get back in my lane.
Well, and we've kind of worked together enough, the 3 of us, that we understand that if someone kind of digs their feet in, that you should probably listen, because they might be hearing something that you're not. And it's not an ego thing, and it's usually because it's good. It's for the better of the
that
song.
Really is. I feel like that's one of the top 3 reasons that bands fall apart, is because somebody has their heart set on this, my vision of this thing, and they're not serving the song. Those bands end up putting out shit third records.
For you, as far as the mixing, is this the last place that you listen, is on the ATCs, or you go to the car? What do you do?
Well, when you were saying earlier about the new NS10, I think that the phone is the new NS10. I definitely listen.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I definitely listen on my phone in the car. I listen on my phone, while I'm laying in bed.
When you say on the phone in the car, do you mean on the phone, through the phone, through?
Yeah,
into
just
the
in
car?
different environments, just to
Kind of
hear
like people would do it, right?
Yeah, and Karina will get mad at me because I'll be like, "Oh, check this thing out." And she'll be like, "Can you play it through speakers?" I was like, "I am. I'm playing it through my phone."
Doesn't it sound great on these little speakers?
What are the things that you adjust when you go to the phone?
Low end.
Okay.
Because if you can't hear the bass part, then that's a problem.
What's the frequency range that's in that you can hear on the phone?
Kind of the note, I like 180-ish. Kind of.
That's about as low as you'll hear, where you actually hear distinct.
Yeah, where you can
notes.
start hearing the pitches of the notes. If that's gone, then you either got to say that it's not important enough, that you're willing to not have it there, or you got to rethink the sound, or EQ it, or bring another element in to kind of reinforce that. Vocal blends, I think.
That's big. That's a thing that will come out in the phone.
Because Karina's vocal it's a sharper, higher, register. So on that, I always go back to him after hearing her. You gotta bring me. I don't normally like my vocal up, but either bring her down or bring me up, because all you can hear is her vocal.
Yeah.
On that.
Yes. Yeah.
The phone sounds perfect over there.
The phone is a new NS10. I like that.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm gonna play something else here.
7-1. Regarding the mystery and magic associated with the number 7, the more than frequent historic references to and reverences for this number are staggering.
7-1, 7-1, 7-1, 7-1, 7-1, 7-1, 7-1, 7-1.
Examples. In India, Agni, the god of fire, 7 are thy fuels, thy tongues, thy holy sages, thy favorite haunts, in 7 ways.
Who is that doing that?
Sir Ian Ross. It's Atticus Ross's father.
Atticus Ross, okay.
Yeah.
So that was done on his phone, and he just sent us a voice memo of that.
How many songs are in 7 on the record? At least 2?
At least 2, right?
Maybe 3?
Is it
2.
1 and 14? I can't remember now.
One of the first ones that you played was 7/8, and that one's 7/4 or whatever.
Is Thrust in 7?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
Thrust
is,
in 7, yeah.
Yeah, a few.
It comes so natural to us to just think in those numbers.
Come on, you guys never even think about 7, right? That's 7 is 4 to you, right? Right,
yeah,
Maynard?
I don't even think about it. It's just literally a conversation. You're just listening to a loop of rhythm, and then you're coming up with words that fit in that conversation. That's how you speak quite often. It's not, you don't speak in 4.
Are there times when you're working on this record, for example, and you're like, I've got almost all the lyrics done. I need a couple extra lines, and some songs might take longer because of that, or are you pretty much, when you sit down and focus, that you can kind of finish things?
Oh no, there's always one section or one set of lines that I stress over. I shouldn't say stress. I just, I labor over, because they can't be throwaway. They can't just be a space filler. It has to, and if I can't come up with the words that don't derail the existing story, I'll do la-las, just so that you're not derailing the story. The only reason those la-las are there is because I don't want to have to repeat words that they're just going to confuse things, or write the wrong words in that section.
And how much improv is done with this, as far as when you're writing your lyrics? We'll do a pass where you kind of just make up words, and then some of those words actually turn into that.
It's all just scat. It's all like 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, on that song 7/1, the reason I have that low 7/1 is because because of the weird nature of the beat that I had in there. Originally in Logic, I couldn't find the 1. So I literally said 7/1 in the mic to remind myself where the turnaround was, and that's the finished vocal.
And then
I love that.
The harmony stuff, that's a good representation of kind of where you start with a lot of things, where it's because you've said it before, where you don't like to put word or lyrics in too soon. You like to figure out the syllables, like the math side of it, like where the spaces are. But the
harmony engine.
The harmony engine part is a good example of kind of what some of those things sound like before they get lyrics.
Yeah, because I did the harmony engine thing, and then went, I could just use that. Don't even put words in there.
When you're taking your Logic sessions, do you actually just send the Logic sessions to Matt, the whole session?
I'll put them up online on a FTP site, and just he'll import them, and hopefully have the same plugins. Because I'll send him like bounces of them so he can hear what I'm hearing, and then he'll open up and try to figure out how to piece that together. It usually opens up okay, right?
Yeah, it always opens up easy.
Karina will send you what Logic files too? Or
she works in Pro Tools, so
Okay.
usually I'll flatten the music and give her a stereo music, and then give her all of Maynard's tracks.
When you say flatten, you mean like just give a rough mix?
Just a stereo stem of, she'll have a session that just has a 2-track of the music, and then all of his tracks, and then she'll, add her tracks to that.
Just play one more thing here.
So that's all Fairlight.
Yeah, you can comment as it's going and like that. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Swing, swing away. Swing, cold pendulum.
Did I have you bring this up a step?
I don't think so.
Dumb to at a field heralding.
How do you use the Fairlight to do something like that?
I think it started with the kind of voice element. I think that was the first thing that I sent you, it was just that voice melody. And that's one of those rare occasions where, remember how I was saying I don't like to do a melody because it gets in the way?
Yeah.
And that was one that it kind of started with that, and I was like, this is really fucking cool. And then he thought it was great and had some idea. I was like, I don't know what to do with it. And he was like, I know what to do with it. And then the idea to go back to it for the bass, it just kind of had I think that kind of vocal melody line just really paints a picture of a it's like a timestamp of what it is. Mm-hmm. So then it made sense for that bass to also kind of fall into that.
We weren't really sure, this is always something that comes up 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm like, man, we need these cool, Men in Black agents on stage, and it's this crazy character, Dick Merkin, and before we had Billy D and all these things going on. Like, what the fuck are we gonna do for this thing? He goes, don't worry about it, it'll come. And that thing he played, I'm like, this is a goth album. Right. So, we just kind of went down with the Fanny Gray and the Belindia Black and the Synth Whisper vibe based on that opening melody, determined, in my mind, where the characters were going to go.
Yeah.
For it to bring a personality to this thing and bring to life these synthesizers.
Yeah.
Quite literally. But a song like that, you do it and then you go, shit, can I play this live? Because it is a pretty low vocal register.
Yeah.
So we did it. We filmed it at the Exchange downtown, but I literally had to be in the back corner, away from cymbals, amps, everything, because I had to be able to hear the vocal live. So I think that was the most nerve-wracking part of that song, performing that live, is making sure that I could hear myself.
And
just for pitch reasons stuff, right? Like you can't hear the pitch when it's super low like that.
I want to say when we tracked it, that was one you're like, I want to get this vocal before I have my coffee. It was one of those like. Okay,
I was going to ask this. That's the bottom of your range, right? Right there.
That's it. As far as being able to play live, that's the bottom of the range.
The bottom where you can actually project
enough
to kind of get the vocal out there.
And I could do that with this band. I couldn't do that with Tool.
Yeah.
Because all the ambient noise on stage with Danny's drums and Adam's 16 guitar amps and the bass and everything, I wouldn't be able to do a song like this with Tool. Because it was just too loud on stage. Because I can get up behind these instruments for Puscifer, and the drums are way over there.
Like you actually literally get away from them, right?
I can get away from them.
You guys are wearing in-ears for all this stuff live. How isolated are they? And do you like to have it isolated, or do you need to hear some ambient sound for pitch and things like that?
I think this is an ongoing struggle in my head. I like it to be bone dry, no audience sounds or anything out there.
Yeah.
You see, you don't get to hear the accolades or the reaction. Yeah. I can't hear them.
You literally can't hear them, right? Because I don't think people realize that if you don't have the audience in there.
Yeah,
it's like you have a space helmet on.
Yeah, it's like you're literally in a. But to me, the most important part is that they hear an accurate and passionate version of this song. It's not about me and you adoring me. It has nothing to do with being adored. It has to do with presenting these songs the best we can. And the best way to do that is for me to not hear you. I have to hear him, I have to hear the drums, I have to hear me in context so that we can present this thing to you.
Are they hearing you bone dry too?
Yeah, the out-of-time clapping. Yeah.
Are they hearing you bone dry too in their mix? No.
Us?
Yeah, in your in-ears?
No, we got a little sauce.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually leave it. I have this. There's no sauce.
Just
so
a little room,
exactly
just
what it's going
to
be.
make it.
And how different are your headphone mixes? Do you think?
They're drastic.
Drastic.
What do you like to hear?
Guitar a lot louder than anyone thinks you would want it, because I like to hear all those nuances when I'm sliding into things, and I like to hear all that stuff. If it's mixed into the level it would be on a record, I feel like I can just get lazy and do whatever. And if it's a little too in my face, then I find that I'm a little more, I pay attention a little more and make sure it's right. Yeah, I think everyone's mixes are pretty. They're definitely utilitarian.
Yeah, I have my, because we're on a grid.
Yep.
I have my vocal in my left ear, my recorded vocal.
Okay.
sometimes we'll actually record the live show, and he'll put my live vocal in my ear, so that if anything goes down, as long as I can hear that vocal, I can keep us going.
You know where you are and stuff.
I know where we are, and
Yeah.
there's a pitch reference.
Yeah. Are there times, Maynard, where it gets so disorienting that there's no pitch reference live?
Correct.
If it's
Yeah.
super loud or whatever?
Absolutely. And because there's weird things that happen on
Yes.
stage with somebody, maybe a guitar is out of tune. If I follow the guitar, now I'm out of tune because the bass is in tune, and now I'm not, because I heard it different. Or there's an overtone. There's one of the songs that we always play. The fuck is that one? Where Greg would start the song on bass, and literally we'd all look at each other before the song, as the song's starting, going, and I'll make a note I'll start singing the note that's my note as he's playing, and as soon as the music kicks in, it's out of pitch every time, because some overtone,
Is it some psychoacoustical
weird
effect or
semitone
something?
of the bass,
Yeah,
just
'cause it's like a low B or something, and just the way that it resonates.
you can't.
Yeah.
We're literally a half a step out when we come in.
Yeah.
So I had to pay attention to that and go, here's where I think it is. It's not. It's down here. It's so weird.
Yeah. But we all have little cheat sheets that we can rely on with.
Yeah, that's why having the vocal in my ear, when I hear my breath in, that note of the breath, I know where I'm at. It's such a weird phenomenon.
Yeah. I think that most people don't realize these things are going on when you're on stage, being able to hear yourself in different, and plus the size of the stage, where people are located.
And also, there's a lot of singers that you hear them live and they sound like they're singing flat.
Yeah.
It's because their vocal is too loud over the music in their mix. Their live vocal, they don't have a recorded vocal.
Yeah.
But their live vocal is so much louder than the music that they're singing to an adjusted version of the music in their ear, which is a half step down.
Yeah.
So when they're singing out, we hear it out front like that. I heard Chris Cornell do that a lot. And you know that guy can sing.
Right.
There's no question that guy can sing his ass off. But with his in-ear monitors, his vocal was so loud in his mix that he sounded like he was singing flat. He's not flat. He's singing to what he's hearing.
Okay, you guys have been doing this a long time, since before in-ear monitors. Do you ever have a situation where you have wedges or anything? No, never anymore, right?
No, but I've had my in-ears go down, and I just have to flop them out and go free ball it.
And what's that like?
It's horror. Pure horror. Because now I'm hearing slapback of my vocal. I'm not hearing my actual vocal, because most of my bands, my vocal's not in their monitors. So I'm not hearing any of me.
So if people see you go like this, Maynard, and they see your in-ears coming out, it's like horror.
It's a problem.
Right.
It's a problem.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming in today, and I love this record. Everybody definitely check out the new Puscifer record.
Please.
It's incredibly great.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
great meeting you too, Matt.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hope we didn't geek out too much on you.
No, it was amazing.